What's up, guys? Today we're going to be talking about Cha-Ching! The White Luck Warrior by R. Scott Bakker. So, guys, this is book number 2 in the Aspect Emperor series. Now, I know some of you are worried about spoilers, but fear not, I'm not going to be going down that road. This thing is going to be kept pretty light. In fact, I'm just going to be giving a little blurb and then going into the things that I liked, maybe disliked, or just what I feel Bakker adds to the story here. These books are pretty dense. It's also quite a bit to ask of the reader, so there might be people out there that were like me, that were very intimidated by Bakker and just let that intimidation get the best of them and just didn't get into the books. So these reviews from here on out for the last 3 books are really just going to be like what Bakker adds to the story, whether I think it's heating up or cooling down, and maybe is it worth it for you, the reader. Let's get into it. The White Luck Warrior is a direct continuation of the story, so we will continue to follow the threads that Bakker has begun to unravel on us. So we will follow the thread of Momin and the New Empire, and we will also follow the thread of the Great Ordeal as it pushes north towards Golgotharoth, as well as we will follow the thread of Akamian, Maimara, and the Skin Eaters as they work their way towards the Library of Soglish. Okay, so one of the first things I want to get into is just how Bakker starts the book out, because up until now, really, he starts his books out with a bang, guys. He really just hits you, brings you in, you get engaged immediately, and it's usually because it's just some massive scale deal going down that just you can't help but just relish in. But here, the White Luck Warrior, it doesn't really start out with a bang, but I'm not mad at it because what it does is it really brings the reader down and grounds them and adds so much more consequence and just weight to what has come before in the judging eye. The next thing I want to talk about is Bakker's writing, because we're always going to talk about Bakker's writing. Once again, it is just powerful. His prose is so hard-hitting, and it's beautiful and tragic and all those things. But like you might have heard me say in the last review for the Judging Eye, that there's a big tonal shift here in the Aspect Emperor series from the Prince of Nothing books. And I still think that the tonal shift is there, but at the same time, I feel like the tonal shift is happening again, where, Judging Eye felt much more straightforward, like a fantasy, almost like a fantasy journey adventure. Here in the White Luck Warrior, I really see where Bakker is beginning to really blend what has come before with the current stuff. So you're just getting this great mesh of philosophical ride mixed with dark journey, and it is fucking great. The next thing I want to talk about is what he's added to the New Empire thread, like here in Momin, because as the reader, Momin is like the one place we know the most, because we really are pushing north here in this series to uncharted lands as the reader, but back in Momin, we're a little bit more comfortable because we know the ins and outs way more than we do everything else. But as well as the other 2 perspectives, or the other 2 threads, definitely have the action. They got all the stuff that's going down, where it can seem like the Moment thread is a little static or stale just because it doesn't have all the exciting stuff that the other 2 threads have. But I really do think that Bakker has done good with this thread now. He did a lot of work into making it much more interesting for the reader. He introduces another Anasarimber child, one that we've heard about, but now we actually get to see, spend time with, and lay eyes on this madman. And it is great because this is where we get some of that crazy madness dialogue, stuff that is prophetic, is just profound, but it's also crazy. Another thing that Bakker adds to this thread to make it a little bit more enticing for the reader is just that he gives us, he lets us put eyes on the threat that is outside, knocking on the New Empire's door. Because kind of before this, like I say a lot of times, guys, some of this stuff can feel like background chatter or noise just because it doesn't feel fully fleshed out. It's just, that's just another thing that he's kind of thrown in there. But when we put eyes on things, seeing is believing, right? And then now it's a breathing part of the story, and it just brings you that much more into it. It gets you engaged. The next thing I want to talk about is the world building, because I think Bakker has just thrown so much in these books. The Aspect Emperor series the world building is on full display. And I do think that's because he's pinched back the philosophical ride somewhat. So instead of sitting and meditating so much, we're actually getting out there, out in the woods and getting dirty and, actually seeing the world. And it's a lot of fun. And jumping off of that, just kind of going into the lore and the history that Bakker adds to the books, especially here in this one, it's just so refreshing as a fan of the series. One of the kind of appeals of Bakker, and maybe one of the frustrations as well, is all the mysterious, the mysteriousness in his books. Yes, we get understanding through each one, but there's still a lot of pieces of the puzzle that feel like they're missing. But that, like I said, that's kind of part of the fun, because we're just waiting for that next puzzle piece to really, just tickle that dark soul. And it is a lot of fun, and Bakker just gives us juicy morsels in here, and I had a lot of fun chewing on all this new information here of Yerwa. The next thing I want to talk about is the magic in the book, because Bakker is definitely putting on a sorceress spectacle in this one. Several spectacles, if I'm going to be, correct. The thing is, guys, is he's just added so much more and just built off of what he's already given us, and it's so much fun. One of my favorite additions here is we've heard about the School of Witches, but here we really get to see them in action, step out onto the battle plane. And I tell you guys, when you read about these women that look like little rag dolls, but yet they're just throwing out the most awesome of power, destructive power, it's a lot of fun to read. And it's not just the additional stuff with the magic, it's also what he has already given us and just what he expands on. We will get to learn more about the Judging Eye, Maimara's power, as well as this mysterious Kiri magic that Cleric seems to be distributing amongst the party members. So it's a lot of fun to learn more about what we've already known, as well as getting to see new sights. The next thing I want to talk about is the battles, because let's face it, Bakker is very famous for his battles. They are amazing, guys. But I want to add something to this. It's just being very used to his battles where it is men against men. There is definitely a different tone here when we are seeing men against weapon races like Shrank, Bashrag. It's just a whole different tone, guys. And in my spoiler review, I will go more into that, but just trying to keep it nice and tight and spoiler-free, I have to say, reading these battles is not only awesome because it's in Bakker fashion, so it just hits you in all that epicness, and things are just visually stunning. The imagery is through the roof. It's all lyrical and just awesome. But now it's also hitting you with a whole new level of horror that you were probably not going to expect. And this is great. For me, I just ate this shit up, but it will certainly be too much for some. But goddamn, dark and delicious. And speaking of dark and delicious, let's talk about that overall tone. Because, guys, the Aspect Emperor series, it's much darker than Prince of Nothing. Prince of Nothing is dark, and it's nihilistic and all that. But the Aspect Emperor is certainly stuff of nightmares. And I'm not sure what was all going on with Bakker while he was writing this, but he has brought something that is very dark and dastardly. In fact, I really had to take a step back and really look at everything that was going on, and the more I thought about it, the darker the overall tone just became. And like I said, this will certainly be too dark for some, but I am fucking loving it. And I'm sure there might be some Bakker fans out there that have been following my reviews and my videos for a minute, and you might have remembered when I said back in like the darkness that comes before that the book wasn't that dark, that I have read darker. Well, I guarantee you, like, Bakker is going down a path, maybe one that I've never even gone before. It is sinister in so many ways, and I'm just fucking loving it. It's nightmarish, guys, and I'm all on board. But maybe you should be warned that this stuff is going to take you down a path that some are just not willing to tread. Now, I'm going to tell you guys, I absolutely love this book. I mean, I'm through the roof with this book, and I'm so bought and sold back and into it in this series. You might have saw my Judging Eye review where I said it wasn't so much a masterpiece as it was amazing. Well, I feel like the White Luck Warrior is back into masterpiece territory, and I'm just like chomping at the bit to just continue this story. But at the same time, I have to admit as well to you guys that like never in my life have I been reading something and I didn't want it to end. Like halfway through the White Luck Warrior, I got sad because I realized that I was getting closer to the end. Like this whole thing was just going to stop. And that fucking really hurts my soul on so many levels. So I just want to, like, I'm just trying to be honest with you guys and get that out there so you understand, like, this is how goddamn much I love these books. And I know when I love stuff that much, I got to try to be objective. But this book is even really hard for me to be objective, guys, because I loved it from beginning to end. The one thing, if I have to be super critical, the one thing I would, critique is the fact that Kellis, Anasarember Kellis, he is the Aspect Emperor, and he's a bad motherfucker. But maybe he's too bad of a motherfucker. He just seems to just smoke everything. Nothing is a contest with Kellis. But there are some irons in the fire, so to speak, some things in the mix that might propose a challenge for Kellis. I'm really interested to see how that plays out. And I know I'm kind of rambling here, but like I said, I fucking love this book. And the only thing I could complain about is maybe that Kellis is just a little too powerful. All right? All right. Now, as far as my 2 cents for the slow and the struggling, man, I think that this book is one that you would maybe want to pump your brakes on. I know I said The Judging Eye is a book that you could get into, but I also said that you need to read Prince of Nothing, which will require a workout for some readers to get strong enough to really consume that thing properly. Now, I do think that The White Luck Warrior is maybe easier for you to consume than the Prince of Nothing books, but I also believe that Bakker is beginning to really weave that philosophy back into the story, and it will make things a little bit more complex, a little harder, and a little dense for you, creating more hurdles for you to get over. That being said, if you've read the books in order, I don't think that Bakker is throwing anything at you that is going to be a bigger challenge than he's already thrown at you. The Prince of Nothing books really are like a gauntlet of challenges that you're going to get through and get on to Aspect Emperor, and it just makes it a much more smooth ride. Like, you have understanding, your feet are further, like, firmly planted in the history and the lore and the characters and everything, so it just kind of speeds things up for you. But at the same time, I have to admit, like, these things are dense, and they're not always so straightforward. They will test your thinking quite often, so just know, even with all the knowledge you have, could still be problematic in some areas. All right, guys. As always, thanks for spending some time down here at the channel and to R. Scott Bakker. A gadoosh. 2 thumbs up. Actually, boom, boom. 4, 6, 8, 10 thumbs up. I don't give a shit, guys. This book is definitely one of my favorite Bakker books to date. Like, I am definitely just cherishing this thing. I can't stop thinking about it. I have actually tried to get back. I'm starting The Great Ordeal. Probably going to be a minute before I put those videos out, but I just very consumed at the moment, and I just can't appreciate it enough, because this is sometimes what we look for in books, right? And I have never been lost more than in Yerwa with these fucking people, man, and I love it. And for those out there that know, you know. And for those that are new, then you just go ahead and please like and subscribe, because it does help me grow the channel. And yeah, it helps me. It's just what I'm doing, all right? Like I said, guys, earlier, if you want more from me, just know that the spoiler video is right around the corner. Keep an eye out for that. And yeah, you know what time it is. Hey.